Texas is vast and full of surprises, but while East Texas bustles with life, the West remains a wide-open frontier. Why actually is West Texas so empty compared to its eastern neighbor? As we begin, let's pull up a map of Texas. Notice how the eastern half is dotted with cities and towns, while the western half remains largely open space. If we zoom in east, we understand why East Texas is well known for its lush landscapes, towering pine trees and rolling hills. This area, including the piney woods, feels like a world apart from the desert expanses of the West. With a humid subtropical climate, East Texas gets plenty of rainfall, over 45 inches per year in some areas, allowing it to support dense forests, fertile soil, and a wide range of wildlife. The many rivers like the Sabine, Trinity, and Neches further support the region's greenery, giving rise to bayous and swamps filled with diverse plant and animal life. The dense forests and abundant water made East Texas a natural choice for settlers looking for farmland and water resources. In this deep East Texas area, agriculture was easy to establish, and the soil was perfect for growing crops. Small farms and ranches popped up, and a deep connection with the land developed. Cities like Tyler, Beaumont, and Longview grew and became major centers of trade, agriculture, and industry. This was also helped by East Texas's early access to railroads, which connected it to larger markets and boosted the economy. Meanwhile, in West Texas, things look a little different. In stark contrast to the piney woods, West Texas is dry, vast, and, well, kind of empty. When we talk about West Texas, we're referring to everything west of the Pecos River, including regions like the Llano Estacado and the Trans-Pecos. This area has a mostly arid or semi-arid climate, with rainfall often dropping below 20 inches per year, and long stretches of flat, open desert landscapes with rugged mountain ranges in the Trans-Pecos area. Even though there are some rivers, like the Pecos and the Rio Grande, water is scarce. In fact, the Rio Grande can get so dry from use upstream that parts of it are reduced to a trickle by the time it reaches the border towns of West Texas. And without easy access to water, large-scale farming becomes nearly impossible, leaving ranching as the primary industry. While vast cattle ranches became a defining feature of this region, they never required as many people to run them, keeping West Texas's population low. Historically, East Texas flourished first. The fertile soil and winding rivers attracted early settlers, laying the groundwork for thriving communities. Agriculture was king here. This part of Texas saw more European settlement in the 1700s and 1800s, with Spanish settlers establishing missions and Anglo-American settlers following soon after, especially once Texas gained independence from Mexico. The area's rivers allowed early settlers to transport goods easily, and the fertile land was ideal for growing cash crops like cotton. This agricultural success laid the foundation for communities and local economies, leading to the establishment of towns and small cities. In contrast, West Texas was a tougher sell. Before oil was discovered, this vast region was largely used by Native American tribes, particularly the Comanche and Apache, who adapted to the arid land and open spaces. Anglo-American settlers didn't make their way west in significant numbers until the late 1800s, when the railroads and later, the promise of oil drew them. Until then, the region was simply too remote and inhospitable to attract much settlement. Even the cattle drives that passed through the area required fewer permanent settlers since the cowboy life was largely transient. In addition to fertile land, East Texas also had a head start in infrastructure. The early arrival of railroads in East Texas made it easy for towns to develop and thrive. These railroads connected cities to each other and to major hubs in Texas like Houston and Dallas, making East Texas a vital part of the state's economy early on. Today, major highways like I-20 and I-30 run through East Texas, linking it seamlessly to other states, while its relatively flat terrain makes building roads, utility lines, and other infrastructure easier and cheaper. West Texas, on the other hand, developed its infrastructure much later. The rugged terrain and vast distances between towns made it difficult to build transportation networks, and even now, there are fewer highways. Interstate 10 and Interstate 20 pass through the region, but they cover long, isolated stretches of land. Towns in West Texas are often miles apart, and without an extensive road or rail network, transportation is more limited, reducing West Texas's appeal for those seeking the convenience of urban living. As we have seen, East and West Texas have developed in very different ways. East Texas built its economy around agriculture, timber, and later, oil. In fact, East Texas was home to one of the largest oil discoveries in U.S. history, and oil production dominated its economy through much of the 20th century. But over time, the East Texas's economy diversified, with industries like healthcare, education, and manufacturing taking a prominent role. This diversification brought job opportunities, helping the region sustain its population over the years. West Texas, on the other hand, has remained more dependent on oil and gas. The West Texas oil boom has led to an economic surge, but it's also created a more cyclical economy that rises and falls with the oil market. West Texas has also become a leader in renewable energy, with vast stretches of land now covered in wind turbines and solar farms. Yet, while these industries provide economic growth, they don't require the dense population that agriculture or manufacturing would. As a result, West Texas remains sparsely populated even during economic booms. The geography of each region has shaped not only the economy, but also the culture. East Texas, with its close-knit communities and strong values, developed a culture focused on family traditions, church gatherings, and community ties. Towns are closer together, and families have lived in the same places for generations, creating a distinct atmosphere. West Texas, in contrast, feels like a land of frontiers. The vast, open spaces and isolated towns have fostered a more independent, self-reliant spirit. With a history steeped in ranching and oil, the culture in West Texas is defined by a rugged Wild West mentality. Life here often revolves around resilience and adaptability, qualities that have come to characterize the region's identity. This rugged individualism sets West Texas apart from the more community-oriented East, adding to the cultural gap between the two regions. East and West Texas may seem surprisingly different at first, but their unique geography, climate, and history explain it. East Texas, with its abundant water, fertile soil, and early transportation access, quickly developed towns, cities, and a diverse economy supporting a dense population. In contrast, West Texas's arid climate, limited water, and isolated towns hindered large-scale agriculture and settlement. While oil and renewable energy spur economic growth, they don't need many residents, keeping West Texas sparsely populated while East Texas thrives.